migration has been a contentious issue in the EU, especially in the last 5 years. What was the atmosphere or the tenor of the debate in the European Parliament and in the EU pre-COVID-19, before the lockdown, just a few weeks ago, if you can remember?
Yeah, I try. It was quite clear even before the Corona crisis, and now it is apparent there is a lack of solidarity among the EU member states regarding the reception of refugees. And this is the key problem we are facing in the European Union. And the states on the EU external borders are demanding the support of the other states for years. We cannot leave the first countries of arrival alone to cope all the challenges which are linked with the refugees and migrants who have come. The current Dublin regulation allows countries in the central EU to act on the principle of non-solidarity towards the states that are the first countries of reception. But we urgently need to ensure that the burden is eased, because at the moment human rights and the rights of refugees are being trampled underfoot.
It's one of the very striking things for us working on human rights, peace, mobility, including at QCEA, is how in the past few weeks, how fragmented the common EU policies have been. And we've seen the strengthening of national policy borders as well as physical borders. So how can we get to a progressive EU common policy on migration, considering, in a way, I feel like the regression that we've seen?
Yeah. The EU externalization policy, pushing refugees back and keeping them out from Europe, has long been inhumane. It is in contradiction to the European values if we do not protect people who are fleeing from war, from political, ethnic, and gender-specific persecution, or fleeing from hardship and misery. And we are facing this situation not just since the Corona crisis. Refugees drown in the Mediterranean, die of thirst in the Sahel Desert, are raped, maltreated, blackmailed, and enslaved. And if they manage to reach Europe after many traumatic experiences, they are forced to live in inhuman camps on the EU's external borders. The protection of human rights is in bad shape, and the EU Commission intends to present the new pact on migration shortly. The focus, from my point of view, must be on an individual and fair asylum procedure for all, the shared responsibility of the EU member states in refugee policy must be ensured, and the Dublin III regulation already mentioned must be amended. The first states of arrival must not be left alone in coping with all the challenges regarding the refugees. Those states that nevertheless refuse to comply with the principle of the rule of law must be financially sanctioned. And this must be a central point for the currently debated midterm financial EU budget from 2021 to 27. And in addition to this, we need support for those cities and municipalities and regions who declared themselves to receive refugees.
Yeah. The brave, the cities of sanctuary. I think we should all be celebrating those cities for what they're doing. I know because I used to sit next to you in the European Parliament, and Kékéli knows because she's been working with the European Parliament, that the European Parliament's been a key ally for human rights organisations in raising awareness about real violations of rights and the horrific conditions for refugees and asylum seekers in numerous countries, but I can think of debates that we've had together on the situation in Bosnia, the situation in the camps on the Greek border and in Turkey, the situation in Libya, to now, today, with the European Parliament in lockdown, and with democratic institutions limited in every country, how can we advocate for refugees and ensure that the policies that are being promoted in our name are transparent and accountable?
Even if the fundamental and democratic rights of all of us have been severely restricted in recent times, it does not mean that human rights are suspended for a longer time. And this also and especially applies to the refugee rights. They belong to the most vulnerable group in our society. We should therefore protect them in a very special way. But the opposite is happening. For example, the overcrowded camps at EU's external borders, which were already inhuman before the crisis, are even more so now. The requirements to keep distance, wash hands, and stay at home cannot be met. But what does a refugee do on Lesbos in Moria camp who shares a water tap with 1,300 other people? Therefore, it is of utmost importance to use all political options to educate the refugees from those camps from the Greek islands. Or we will see that there will happen a really great catastrophe. We must organize family reunification immediately, as provided for in the Dublin III regulation. We must stop deportations in times of corona crisis. We need an immediate stop to violence at the EU external borders and the creation of legal and safe pathways into the European Union.
You mentioned,
We agree with that.
yes, and the task at hand is huge and multifaceted. So what keeps you going and what gives you hope and belief that we will be able to reach a solidarity-based policy?
I have hope because there are promising approaches. For example, on the 22nd of April, 10 European cities which have joined together as solidarity cities offered in a letter to the 3 EU presidents to host 5,500 children and young people. And in Germany, the NGO Seebrücke movement is making itself heard nationwide with its Leave No One Behind campaign. Under this umbrella, 150 German cities have declared themselves safe cities. They want to take in additional refugees beyond the normal distribution mechanism and are prepared to do so at short notice, even during the pandemic.
I think one of the things that gives us hope, Dietmar, is that we have representatives like you in the European Parliament who are dogged in advocating and defending the rights of refugees. I think, you know, finding those allies in this this struggle for justice for people and safety is in that struggle you find some really good friends as well, and so I really appreciate you giving us your time today. If there's anything else that you want to say, a message that you want to pass to those who are active in supporting refugees, those who are concerned about European migration policy, you know, the floor is yours.
For me, it gives me energy if I can talk with representatives of NGOs and with you, Jude, that is important for the struggle in the European Parliament. which is not all the time so easy, you know well, from your experience. And so it is good to know that in Great Britain and elsewhere, half a year ago, I was at the border to Mexico in El Paso. And if you see people who are fighting for same rights all over the world, this gives you really energy, and therefore I appreciate it very much to talk with you, and I wish you all the best